Kano PDP governorship candidate Sadiq Wali joins us now live to speak on the coming elections. Good to see you, and thanks for your time as always. It's a big moment for a lot of people watching your state of Kano. Let us in on what your party and yourself will be doing to upset the NNPP that seem to be taking over Kano at the moment.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And thank you for the opportunity to actually, for a change, say what we are planning to do in Kano. We have not been afforded this opportunity due to litigation. And I think that is why from the previous introduction that was made, we came in third. But I assure you that the PDP has been up and doing. Since the end of the litigation that we've had, we've been moving around trying to re-energize our structure so that we will be able to face the challenges that were for Saturday's election. Now, we know that our manifesto is the best. We know that we are the more people-oriented party. And we know that we are the party that is in between the big, or should I say the two that you mentioned. But we are the most peaceful party, and we have been actually canvassing for votes at the grassroots level, so that this time around, we hope that the people of Kano will choose what is best for the society itself, not just follow the political juggernauts, because basically that is what has been happening in Kano, whereby we follow individuals just for following's sake. But what do they have to offer to the populace? What do they have to offer to the teeming youth, even the Conquesia movement of the NNPP, which claims to control most of the youth? If you look at their manifestos and what they plan to do for the youth, you'll see that really there is no substance to it. And if you look at the ruling APC and the condition that Kano is in today, you know that as a government they have failed. As individuals, they might be good people, but as a government, they have failed. And this is where we are going to plug the gap. We have sorry, go ahead.
Right. So, well, you say the present administration in Kano State has failed. Exactly what is your vision for Kano? Of course, it is the largest non-oil and gas, state in Nigeria. What's your vision for Kano State?
We hope to reindustrialize Kano State because as of now, a lot of our factories are comatose. They are not working. How do we go about doing that? We want to key in to the AKK gas pipeline that is coming to the north through Kano. We want to key in to the rail infrastructure that is coming through Kano all the way to Niger. We want to reintroduce in the agricultural sector, we want to reintroduce marketing boards so that we'll be able to check prices of products and we'll be able to give access to our local farmers, give them international access to international markets. We want to grow the GDP of Kano. And we want to make sure that the educational system of Kano is reformed so that we'll be able to stand tall with the rest of the country and West Africa as well. We intend to do that, the education sector, we intend to do that by segmenting classes. Everybody you talk to will tell you that they're going to build new classes and they're going to hire new teachers. But the truth of the matter is, where is the funding for that? Where do we get the money for that? We are a struggling state as is. So what we intend to do is to segregate classes so that we can shrink class sizes while maintaining existing infrastructure. The money we save in that, then we buy teaching implements, computers, and modern educational gadgets so that our youth will be better placed to serve in the society. We'll also try and introduce vocational training from the secondary school level so that at the end of the day, most of our youth do not get the opportunity due to poverty to go to higher institutes of education. Now, if we introduce vocational training, be it mechanical training, electrical training, plumbing, carpentry, and so on and so forth, then at least we'll have provided them with a skill set so that once they're through, they'll be able to stand on their own and not go into February, as we are seeing nowadays, when the political cycle comes up. So we intend to do that. We intend to invite investors, foreign direct investment, into Kano, especially in the power sector. With the gas, as I said, coming up, then now we have a unique opportunity to set up gas turbines. In the past, we couldn't do that. And then we'll be able to compete more competitively with our brothers in the south and all over the world. Because as you know, gas is a cheaper energy option than diesel or local fuel.
Let me comment here quickly, so that, speaking of which, you have a novel plan for your people. But again, let us in on what exactly you hope to give to the people, knowing full well that Kano politics has always been a reformist kind of politics, as we've seen since the time of Aminu Kano. And it would seem as if that's what the new Nigeria People's Party is pursuing. So for the PDP that has been tested in Kano, what is that one thing that is people-oriented, that resonates with the people, that will have that push to bring back the PDP on Saturday?
Well, basically, the first step is sincerity of purpose. When you say the NMPP is an offshoot of the PDP. Whatever they have to show for comes from the PDP itself. But to your question directly, what we plan to do is we plan to reinvigorate the grassroots, the youth. We plan to reinvigorate agriculture so that we can give the populace, because we're an agrarian society, as you said earlier, to give jobs, to provide better education, to reform the civil service and the pension sector, so that at least Kano will be repositioned for the 21st century. Because basically right now, as we're talking to you right now, most of these older parties, the NMPP, which is an outfit of the PDP, as I said, and the UPC, it's more of the same. It's more of building infrastructure just for building infrastructure's sake, without societal benefits. We're building bridges that go to nowhere, where township roads do not exist. We are building classes which we are filling with students without any teachers, without any tables, without any chairs. So we have to go back to basics. As far as we're concerned, we want to go back to what Kano was first, before we then project where Kano will be. The decaying infrastructure, how do we reform that? How do we bring it back to functionality? The industries, as I told you, how do we bring them back to functionality? How do we provide incentives so that companies are invited into Kano and are willing to come into Kano to give our teeming populace employment? And then how do you reduce the tax burden, which most of these governments have levied on citizens, and it is stifling the economy? How do you get them how do you give tax incentives so that these type of companies can actually come in and can actually compete all over the world? Then we'll be able to increase our internally generated revenue through turnover, not through individual taxations of different sectors. That is what we intend to do, and that is why we are different from the rest of the parties. We are actually focused and we know what we're going to do and we know how we're going to achieve that.
In 30 seconds, what will you do with the out-of-school children, over 800,000 in Kano State alone? How will you tackle that?
Well, out-of-school children is subjective as far as I'm concerned. A lot of our students go through informal education, which is the Islamic education. That is also education. But anyway, back to the more formal sector, as you say, the Western education. As I said, we intend to segment classes so that we have classes from 8 to 12, taking different students, then classes from 1 to 5, taking different students. And then we intend to feed those students, not the feeding programs that we have today. We want to decentralize it so that we can manage the cost and we can make sure that the children are fed. Now, that would be an incentive in itself for the children to come to school, because most parents cannot provide basic food for their children, 3 square meals for their children. So at least with the government taking the burden of at least 1 square meal a day, then they'll be able now to struggle for the second, which will be later on in the evening. So I believe that if we can do that, we'll be able to draw in more students into the schools. And then we'll make sure that we incentivize the parents themselves. Because if we don't do that, then a lot of them will prefer to send their children to the farms and to hawk. So we want to do that as well.
I'd like to thank you for your time, Sadiq Wali, PDP governorship candidate for Kano State.